One thing that stresses a lot of guys out about divorce is the thought of spending a fortune on legal fees. But you don't have to run up a lot of legal bills to get divorced. This video is going to show you 5 tips for keeping your legal costs low. My name is Eric Mead and I'm the Divorce Bro. I've been through a divorce myself, but I'm also a certified divorce coach. That means that the information I share with you isn't just based on my own experience. It's based on best practices that thoughtful people have been coming up with for the past 15 years. I use that information to help Divorce Bro clients get smart about the process, figure out how they want to show up, and then navigate the divorce process with confidence and integrity to move toward the future they deserve. I will have more to say about that at the end of this video, but first let's talk about these 5 tips for keeping your legal costs low. Tip 1 is don't pay your lawyer for work that they're not trained to do. In divorce, you're going to be going through a lot. There are a lot of pieces of it. There's legal, financial, you're figuring out co-parenting if you have kids, you have logistical things to deal with, you might be moving, and there's this big emotional journey you're going through as well. So the lawyer is trained in part of that legal part, but not the rest of it. So your lawyer might be perfectly happy to sit on the phone for an hour or two while you vent about this text that your ex or your spouse sent you last night, but that's probably not a very good use of their time and it's not a good use of your money. Remember, they're going to be charging you for that call, and their rate on average will run between $250 and $300 an hour. On top of that, lawyers tend to see information through a legal lens. So when you bring information to them, they're thinking, well, how would I use this in court? How would I use this in the negotiations? And if they take the information you bring to them that could just be venting about that text, and they complicate your case based on that, that could increase your legal fees as well. Tip number 2 is to learn about the legal process on your own. There are lots of resources out there that you can look at, especially your own court where you live probably has a website that has a lot of this information. Now, if you have never thought about getting a divorce and you don't know people who've gotten a divorce, this might be a big mystery to you. You've assumed that no one knows how divorce works. But in fact, it is just a thing that happens every day. There are rules, there are statutes and laws that guide the process. And a lot of this, if not all of it, is available to you online. So go find your court's website. You can find some law firm websites. Just make sure that the information is relevant to you and your jurisdiction. A lot of it is just going to be available online, and it's a lot cheaper to just find it yourself than to have your lawyer explain it to you at their normal hourly rate. Tip number 3 is to do the legwork when you can. So there's a lot of paperwork in divorce. For example, with your financial disclosures, you're going to have to go find all the statements from bank accounts, credit cards, investment accounts. You'll have to come up with a value for assets that you and your spouse own together. You'll have to come up with a monthly budget of your expenses looking out into the future. So there's a lot of paperwork to do. It would be tempting to just grab all that information, put it together, dump it at your lawyer's office and have them go through it. But again, they're going to do that at their hourly rate. Even if they use a paralegal, and so someone else is doing it at a lower cost, that's still about $150 per hour on average in the US. So what you can do instead is you can go to the court website. You can actually download the form that your lawyer is going to submit to the court with your financial disclosures, and you can start filling out that form, at least on a draft basis. You can even provide a spreadsheet or another document to explain how you got the numbers that you put in the form. And then the lawyer just reviews that, makes changes where necessary, but the lawyer and the paralegal aren't starting from scratch to figure out what your financial life is like. Tip number 4 is to explore all of the options for finalizing your divorce. A lot of people assume that divorce means court and judges and testifying and this contentious battle. In fact, that's a relatively rare experience in the US. More than 90% of divorces are settled outside of court. So how do they get settled? There are a few different options. One is mediation. Mediation is when you and your spouse sit down with a mediator, a neutral third party, and the mediator facilitates a conversation to help the two of you reach some kind of agreement on your own. Sometimes lawyers also join that process, and sometimes it's without lawyers. Another option is negotiation. This is where your lawyer and your spouse's lawyer communicate back and forth. Maybe your lawyer, after talking to you, sends over an offer. Your spouse's lawyer, after talking to your spouse, sends back a counteroffer. It's like when you're in the market haggling for something, or you're buying a house. It's offers back and forth until hopefully you reach some kind of agreement. Another option is arbitration, which is kind of like court, but it's like a private courtroom where you go and there's a neutral third party, maybe a retired judge or an experienced lawyer, and that person is going to hear arguments from both sides and then make binding decisions based on what that person hears. So that tends to be less expensive than really going to court. Probably you'll have more control over scheduling it because you're not waiting to be put on the court's official docket. You can plan that on your own. So these are some other ways that divorces get settled in the U.S. much more frequently than actually going to a trial in court. And generally speaking, all of them are going to be less expensive than going to court. Tip number 5 is to pay for legal advice when it matters most. There are some things in divorce that are going to have legal implications whether you know it or not. So getting that advice early makes a lot of sense. Some things that jump to mind would be, are you going to move out of the marital home? Would that be viewed later on as relinquishing your claim on that asset? Same with the kids. If you say, look, my spouse can take the kids for the next couple months while we sort this out, later on it might be difficult to say, well, no, I actually want to spend time with the kids, because you've already maybe set a precedent that isn't important to you. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just raising the questions you might want to ask your lawyer if these things come up. Other issues might be around bank accounts. Should you open your own bank account? Should you move money around at all? So that's something you might want to talk about with a lawyer. And another one is if your spouse says she's leaving the state and bringing the kids, any of that stuff you'd want to talk about with your lawyer as well. So a lot of things that are happening for you as a man going through divorce, the lawyer is not the best person to deal with. Some of the emotional stuff, maybe some of the logistical and co-parenting, there may be other more cost-effective ways to address those issues. But there are some legal things where if you try to save money on a lawyer at the beginning, you might end up paying a much greater price at the end. So those are 5 tips that hopefully you can use to keep your legal costs low. If you want more information and a broader experience to support you through divorce, I recommend you check out the 6-week Divorce Bro Renewal Program on the Divorce Bro app. It takes you through a lot of the information you'll need to know to navigate your divorce with confidence and integrity. So I encourage you to check that out, and I look forward to seeing you soon.